Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 7 of my 9-part series. Now, I know I've said this a lot about these movies, saying this one's my favorite or this is one of my favorites, but there's two movies on this list which are my absolute favorites, and this one is one of them. I'll tell you the other one. It's the last one, but you'll know when the video comes up. But this one is definitely one of the best. So this is The Thing. So, The Thing is a wild ride full of crazy special effects and bone chilling suspense. And while it's thought to be one of the best horror movies ever, when it was initially released, it wasn't so popular. We'll get into that later, but for now, I hope you enjoy the video and, spoilers. So, this movie was released in 1982 and was directed by another horror legend. Sorry, trying to adjust the camera. I moved the lobster that's holding my camera, and now I think I've messed it up again. But it's fine. I mean, we're almost done with the series anyways, I think, in the home stretch. So it was directed by another horror legend, John Carpenter, and it was inspired by 1951's The Thing from Another Planet, not from Another World, which was also inspired by the 1938 novel Who Goes There. So it stars Keith David and the unforgettable Kurt Russell, who you may know from Big Trouble in Chinatown, maybe? I forgot the name. And he's in a lot of other movies. I think Hateful Eight. I probably shouldn't be saying these things without knowing if it's true or not, but at least you now know that he may be in any of those films that I just said. So the movie begins with Russell, and his name is R.J. MacReady in this film, and his group of scientists at their station in Antarctica. So they go outside to find a Norwegian helicopter shooting a dog that's on the ground, just like a sleigh-looking dog, like a husky. And the dog runs to the scientist for help. And when they do, the Norwegian men land, and they look over, and the Norwegian men have dynamite. They have TNT, and they throw it at the dog. But, the scientists are over there, so they're throwing at the scientist. And they're trying to shout something at the scientist, but it's in a different language, so we have no clue what they're saying. But they had a silly little oopsie moment as they took the dynamite to throw it, and instead of throwing it forward, it slipped out of their hand and it went back behind them, and it blew up the Norwegian men and their helicopter. So that killed them, obviously. And they take the dog and they put it inside, and they put it in the cage with the rest of the dogs that they have there. But they hear some really, really strange, loud screeching noises, so they go back to find that some of the dogs are dead on the ground, and the other dogs are they're either running away terrified, or they're severely deformed in crazy ways. And that's when it's revealed that the dog that they'd put in there had morphed into this giant, terrifying creature. So they use a flamethrower to kill the beast, and they get some of it, but it does end up sneaking its way up into the ceiling. And they used a flamethrower, by the way. They're going to use flamethrowers pretty often, which would make sense. They're in a really, really cold area. So, in order to figure out what's going on, because they thought all that was pretty weird, they went to the Norwegian base to sort of figure out what was going on. And there they found a huge ice block, as if they had dug deep in the ground, found something, taken the thing out with the ice surrounding it, and then cut it out of the ice. And then when they walked outside of the base camp, well, number one, they found someone on the inside, and they had slit their wrists. But then when they walked outside, they found another body, except it was severely disformed. It had limbs and stuff coming out everywhere, and it looked super strange. So they took it back to base. Oh, but first they found the site where they didn't find the site. They watched a video from the camp of the Norwegian men, and in that video they went to a certain area. They dug down deep, really deep into the ground, and found a humongous UFO. Like, it's a complete and total UFO. Like, there's nothing distinguishing it. In this universe, space aliens are real and do exist. So the scientist at the time who sees that, and then he goes on his computer and he's looking up. So he's there after they had, at this point they had already examined these deformed bodies that they had found, like the corpse that they found outside of the Norwegian base camp. They examined it and they found that the creature has mimicking abilities. So while it lives and breathes like a creature, and it can look like a dog and act like a dog, at the same time it is very much not a dog. But in order to survive, all of its cells, like every single part of it, it will run if it gets hurt. So it will go, even its blood would run, So they dig out they're looking on the inside and they're finding all sorts of different things within the beast, because it tries to like completely reform itself into the organism it's taking over. So the scientist who was watching the Norwegian tapes, he looked up on his computer, he did some math, crazy scientist math stuff, to figure out that if this thing got into the population, how long would it take for the Earth to be completely and utterly taken over by it? I don't remember the exact number, but I do know that it was very scary. Like the population would be, I think, taken over completely in a matter of maybe weeks or like a month or two. So like it's a very, very serious issue. And obviously that sets him off because he realizes that the only way to make sure that nothing happens to the rest of the world is that not only do they destroy any piece of it, because while they've been examining that body in there and they've got some other little pieces lying around, the thing they don't realize is that if every cell can live on its own and move, then anytime you have any piece of it, it's still alive. So he's going to kill all those parts, but then he also decides that no one can leave camp, because if it can mimic a dog, it can also mimic a human, which is where the suspense comes in, because as people start to realize this, they don't know who is an actual person anymore and who is the thing. So, this distress and stress forces them to fight with each other. So eventually MacReady, and he's got the flamethrower and stuff, he takes charge, he ties everyone up, and he takes blood samples from everybody. Because, like I said before, the creature has the ability to mimic, but it also it also means that if it can mimic every cell of an organism, then every cell is alive and functioning and will do anything to survive. So the blood is very telling. So they take these little vials, and they get blood samples from everyone. They take a hot needle, or the end of a hot wire, and they touch it to the blood. If the blood is just normal blood, doesn't react, nothing happens, then it's a person. If the blood tries to get away, tries to escape, or moves, then it is the thing and is taking over the person. So, it's a very long, intense scene of them trying to figure it out and them accusing each other and all that stuff. But after a while, one of the blood samples do react, and that causes the monster, who's tied down to the couch with two other people at the time, to start to it starts shaking, and its mouth opens up too wide, and things start to come out of it, and it gets out of its bonds, and it goes up to the ceiling, and it's on top of the roof and stuff, and and then after that it hops down in front of someone else, and it bites their head, and then it brings the other person upright, and then it's a person on top of a person. It's crazy. It's crazy from there. I'm not even describing all the crazy gore that's happening, but it's really, really, really cool looking. I can say that much. But after a while, the only two survivors in the end is Childs and MacReady. Childs is just another man who worked there. So they split up, and MacReady eventually destroys the base. he blows it up because he came face to face with the monster. Childs got out of sight. Childs, it seemed, had been overtaken by the monster, so he blew up the base. Because at this point, like, you would, like, it's a very scary situation when you think about putting yourself here, because most of the time, whenever in these movies, people are trying their hardest to survive, but in this later half of the movie, no one's trying to survive. Because at this point, they know that they're never gonna make it out alive, and that they probably should make it out alive if there's a chance that they might inhabit the thing. So, he blows up the thing that's with him, and he finds his way out of the building. So now because he blew up the entire base, there's nothing. He's in the middle of Antarctica. The base is blown up. He crawls his way to a shed and lays down. The shed's like completely open and stuff. So he's out in the open and he sits there. But then someone else walks up, and it's Childs, and he lays down right next to him. They're both really, really cold and really, really out of it and stuff. But the thing is that they have no idea. They're completely deserted. They're completely isolated. They have no help. No help is coming on the way because no one knows that there's a problem in the first place with them. So they both look at each other with suspicion, of course, because they don't know. Because there's plenty of time where the two of them were apart, so no one really knows if the other is the creature. So the movie ends with them staring at each other suspiciously, and that's how it is. You don't know if either Childs or MacReady has the thing. You don't know, like, what happened. And there's plenty of scenes where a character that you thought was safe because you've seen him this whole time leaves frame, and then you're like, okay, well then I have no clue if he's the thing anymore. So even you as an audience member is not fully aware. Sometimes they'll show you things, but that's often if something's about to happen anyways. So this movie is best known for its suspense and its sense of atmosphere. It continues to build and build all the way up to the climatic boss fight, and then we're left with an uncertain ending. So the big question is, why would Carpenter end it this way? So originally he made another ending where MacReady was eventually rescued and brought to a hospital, but Carpenter believed that it just took away the magic of the film, so he went ahead with his original ambiguous ending, which I think was a really good idea. I think that's perfect. So, I have some facts now. As I said before, it wasn't so popular when it was released, and that's because at the time that it was released, it was released 2 weeks after the smash hit E.T. was released. So, this big mean alien didn't really sit well with audiences, especially after watching with their families the lovable E.T. hanging out with the kiddos, and stuff. So originally people called it like abhorrent and horrible and gruesome, which I can understand, because in one scene, someone's stomach opens up and eats someone else's arms, which they actually used a double amputee for that scene. So the man who played the dude whose body was on the ground didn't have any arms or any legs anyways. Also, Kurt Russell, whenever he blew up the monster at the end, whenever he threw a stick of dynamite, that was actual dynamite, and that literally threw him back, like he was completely thrown backwards, and that was used in the final cut. So that's cool. So originally they also had the big boss fight. They had a stop motion sequence for like a half of a minute in there for the creature. It was really cool looking. It was really nice, but Carpenter decided it just didn't really fit well with everything else. It was kind of random, so they cut it out. So yeah, that's the thing. Definitely one of my favorites. It's great. It's pretty serious and suspenseful, and I just have a fun time watching it. So sticking with this theme of suspense, our next video is going to be Silence of the Lambs. And with that, we're also going to return to searching for deeper meanings within film, and we're going to look at another female leaded film, which is, this one. So, thanks for watching, and see you then.